Welcome to the Room and Board Deathmatch, the board game tournament where everything's made up and the points don't matter, except they do, they really do, they really, really, really do. We are going to be battling the best games of 2024 against each other until only one game remains victorious. These are the games, I'll center myself a bit better, that are flying by my head on the screen. Zippity zap! Look at them fly. These are the 31 games that were nominated by my patrons as the best of 2024. And all throughout the month of January, we were voting on these games, tournament style, so that only one game could move forward. This was a tight matchup, but at the end of the day, only one of these games will win. So if you wanted to know what the majority of people feel towards the 2024 games and which 2024 games you should pay attention to based upon a community voting and not just one idiot's opinion, well, stick around because this idiot's gonna reveal the results. Let's go! Before we do, as always, drop your votes or drop your predictions down below so that I can make fun of you when you're wrong. Am I setting you up right now for failure? Yes. Yes, I am. Why? You'll have to watch to find out. Starting off, we have our first matchup. We have MLEM, Space Agency, stands for Milky Little Exploring Meowers. I'm pretty sure that's it. The Milky Little Exploring Meowers. The Space Agency sending your cats through the solar system to occupy planets and moons, taking on Creature Caravan, where caravans of fantasy creatures travel through a dangerous land. That's right, it's a land filled with danger. Oh, I hate myself. MLN is MLEM, which is different than what I believe all of you should sign up for after this video is over, or while this video is happening, which is an MLM scheme that I have going on. Tasty. It's like a pyramid. Mr. Beast just put out a video about pyramids, so it can't possibly be a scheme that would hurt you. But essentially it's a little push your luck game where you're going to roll these dice and you're going to all hop into a spaceship and the spaceship's going to go up, 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 and away. You're going to try to drop your astronauts off on little planets and you hope that your spaceship don't crash. When the spaceship crashes 11 times, the cats finally realize, okay, you know what? We're done with this. We are not gonna venture into space anymore. All of our rockets just keep on crashing. They are powered by dice. We didn't plan for this. Speaking of powered by dice, traveling that's powered by dice, we have Creature Caravan, where essentially you'll have all these spots on your board. You'll roll a handful of dice, and then you'll place your dice on your board. You do this simultaneously at the same time, so zero interaction for this game. But you have these little dice to manage, and you're trying to navigate across a landscape and fight off people who keep attacking your caravan and try to add cool people to your caravan so that you can do additional fun things. It's by Ryan Lockett, who has done like Above and Below, Near and Far, Then and Now, Forthwith and Forth Hence. No, he didn't do those. Near and Far and Above and Below are real though. And what's cool about Red Raven Games is that the designer is also the artist, which I think is pretty neat, because I've always been very taken with this art style, although I haven't yet ever played a Red Raven game. They did Sleeping Gods, right? Yeah, they did Sleeping Gods, Near and Far, Above and Below, Hither and Thither. Oh, there you go. You know what, Ryan Lockett? Take that and run with it for your next game. Hither and Thither? Come on, just a charming little jaunt with squirrels bouncing from tree to tree, selling their goods, selling their acorns, getting ready for winter. It writes itself. And this one was tough. This one came down to a tie. Came down to a straight tie immediately. And usually the tiebreaker is the most extra votes being added to one side or the other. When I look back now, it is still a tie, but I know that tie got broken eventually. I hope so. But anyway, it's tied right now, but I'll let you know when it was decided as the competition went on. It only takes one. It only takes one person to break that line, to sway the masses, to drop their vote in order to trigger the win. So hey, I'll let you know when that happened. But until then, we're moving on. We're moving on to the next one, which is Captain Flip, the very complex, heavy Captain Flip versus a very easy, simple game of Civolution. It's the opposite way. Anyway, the complexity of Captain Flip go as follows. On your turn, you're going to draw a tile from the bag. Do you like that tile? Look at this. You don't like that tile? Flip it. Put it somewhere on your ship. Things will score for placement and various spots where they are. That's it. That's the game. Very simple, very addictive and fun. I know Ruel has talked about this one a lot, about enjoying it over on the R&R show. So that is something where I've been keeping an eye out for it. And I believe it was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres as well, which is pretty great. It's a nice lightweight honorary thing for them to be nominated for. It's up against Civolution, which I'm going to explain the entire game to you right now. Buckle up for 7 hours. I haven't played Civolution yet, which is a shame. It was being played at Level Up, and I'm not upset that I didn't get into that game because it took them 3 hours, and then they woke up the next day and it took them another hour, and maybe even more time. It's a very long game, but apparently it just has to do with a lot of inner mechanisms shifting around. If you're a fan of modern board gaming, which, let's be honest, you found me, so you must be, because I'm only where the true fans live, right here on Room and Board. Oh, okay, I'm trying to get, okay, my chair fell. But each of your boards will have a sort of a different thing that you can do, and then there'll be a number of different buildings that you, tech tree style, that you can put out onto the main board. I don't know, the people who played it seem to enjoy it. Going to Hogland. I'm gonna pretend that says Hogland. So checking the votes, it appears we have a tie. That's weird, 2 ties in a row. I hope this isn't something that people are just doing to ruin my video. That none of these games will ever move forward. But I'm sure the ties will. I'm sure that they're gonna break eventually, right? They're gonna break eventually. We'll let you know when they do. We're moving on to Dune: War for Arrakis taking on Murders at Tealwoods Manor. Which, if you want to watch a playthrough of that, I did a paid playthrough for them, and it's very funny. I think it's funny. Colin covers himself in mustard because he called himself Colin Noel Mustard because he thought we were playing Clue. We have little confessionals in our playthrough, so you know what's going on in everybody's mind. I also say, hey, you can play at home. I'm not going to tell you anything, and then I tell you everything in my first confessional. So now you know my darkest secrets. Both of these games are great. They really are. They really are great. I'm thrilled that Murder at Tealwoods Manor is out now. I've seen the designer, I have the designer on Facebook, and he's been posting that it's on shelves in Australia, which is cool. Murder at Tealwoods Manor is a game, they call it a reverse murder mystery game because you know who the murderer is. And you know who the investigator is, but you have hands of cards where you want certain people to live by the end of the night and die by the end of the night. And so essentially you'll be all drawing these tiles and putting them face down generally in different rooms, which have different abilities. And if the murderer is alone in a room with someone, at the end of the round, they will kill that person. And so you're trying to find out who has your people, trying to protect them, trying to put the murderer in the right place to kill the people who you want dead, and also trigger the investigator killing the murderer once you have secured all of your positions so that none of your people who are alive also die. It's a really fun little game. I have my prototype copy still on my shelf, and I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon. Dune: War for Arrakis was one of my favorites of 2024 that I played as well. I just played this for the first time last year, naturally, since it came out last year, and it is a great game. It is a re-implementation of the horrid War of the Ring. Yes, you heard me right. I said it and I don't regret it. In a way that one of you will be Atreides and one of you will be Harkonnen. Atreides, they get to roll. Here's the breakdown. You're all going to roll dice, and that's going to determine what your actions are. But the Atreides faction will have significantly less dice than the Harkonnen faction, who are just dominant. But the Atreides faction also has some additional buffs to deal with that, and is kind of a ragtag group of heroes in the desert striking out a Harkonnen. And Harkonnen is just this incredibly scary, dominant force, moving around trying to steal your resources. Both sides play differently, but they have an area control battle for points, and the first person to get 10 points wins. It's really good. It took about 4 hours on an initial playthrough of learning the rules for our first time and playing it. I've only played it that one time, but I really quite enjoyed it and thought it was super fun. So if you're a fan of those head-to-head skirmish games, you should check that out. It's Dune versus Murder at Tealwoods Manor. I kind of expect Dune to be winning here. So let me check the votes. And it looks like currently we have a tie between these two. We have another tie. This is sitting at 9.2. How many people have rated it? Probably just their friends. But I think Murder at Tealwoods Manor is fun. If you live in Australia, you might be able to find yourself a copy. But I know some people in Canada also ordered a copy because of the video, and they thought it looked good, and they've received their copies now, which is cool. So, but it seems, it's surprising because I was expecting Dune to really win here, but it seems like we have another tie. But wait! Somebody broke the tie for MLEM, which is for MLM versus Creature Caravan, which means MLEM moves forward in a 20-19 vote. Creature Caravan is the lesser of the dice traveling games. Everybody likes to push your luck aspect. The simplicity of Reiner Knizia breaking that tie, which also then triggered somebody using their extra vote for MLEM because they threw it on to tie it, and then they also threw it on for this matchup, so then it got removed from that matchup, triggering a beautiful chain of events of ties being broken. You thought you could tie the entire deathmatch. You didn't even last 3 rounds. Pathetic voters. Oh, this feels so good. Oh, I can't wait to watch all these games burn. Captain Flip taking on Civolution. Well, you know what? Civolution is the one that takes the vote. I really wanted Captain Flip to move forward, honestly, because I think it seems like really silly and just like simple. But it's Civolution that moves forward into the next round, so don't worry that we have a tie for Dune War for Arrakis and Murder at Tealwoods Manor. I guarantee you somebody will break. You pathetic weaklings. You want your games to succeed in this video, don't you? You don't want them to burn into obscurity. Well, I'm entering my villain era now. 2025 is the villain era. Dune War for Arrakis is probably going to move forward, but I hope it's Murders at Tealwoods Manor. But let's move on to the next round until I go down in the results and see the reveal of when it happens. Next up, we have 7 Citadel, which I hope burns, taking on Let's Go to Japan. Let's go into this breakdown, baby. So 7 Citadel is the re-implementation. It is a re-implementation of 7th Continent. It's a completely new game, but they use this similar mechanisms in that you'll be drawing from a deck of cards, a big old deck, and you'll choose how many you draw, and that will determine if the actions are successful or not. You'll also be building out this map as you go through the game, and you can investigate these little points of interest, and then you read a little passage of a story, you draw a card, and you flip through this library Rolodex of not a lot of fun. But I do have some people in the Discord who are saying that they hated 7th Continent to an equal degree of rage as I did, which is a significant amount. It's probably my bottom 10 games of all time. I hated it. I thought it was awful. It was the worst 20 hours I ever spent by myself. And that's saying something, considering any time that I spend by myself, I have to spend it with me and not a game. So including a game usually should bump those numbers up, but it didn't. Anyway, there are some implementations here in 7th Citadel to make it a lot less fiddly and less annoying. The annoyance is like, oh, you're dead, haha, for no reason. The annoyance is the fatigue system. The way to lose the game was just like, you run out of time, but you've been playing for 14 hours and you're not going to ever go back and reset this because you just do the same repetitive motion over and over again. And so they kind of go around that by having a home base and you kind of going out and coming back to the home base and building up that base, which seems interesting, fine, but it certainly is not interesting enough to handle the trauma that occurred when I played it the first time. So no thank you, 7 Citadel. I hope you lose. Let's Go to Japan has really taken the scene by storm. A lot of people really like this game. It's up at 590 on Board Game Geek. And it's a pretty simple game where you're planning out your itinerary for your trip to Japan. Let's go to Japan, you and I. That would be fun. I've always wanted to go to Japan, where we could watch a sumo match or eat sushi at the Tsukiji Market. Get yakitori in Omoide Yokocho. Well, maybe not yakitori, because that's octopus, and I try not to eat octopus ever since I learned so many facts about octopus about a year ago when I was doing that show about octopus. But each card will give you a certain amount of points, and they'll chain together. They'll all have requirements that you need to play, and they'll all give you symbols that you can work on your set collection. So the votes are in, and it's a tie. God damn it. But it won't be for long. I swear it won't be for long, you brave beautiful visitors. Let's move on to the next one. While these ties break themselves, or I will break everyone involved in creating them, we have Harrow County taking on Wilmot's Warehouse. So Harrow County is a game that we've actually had a giveaway on this channel for, thanks to a lovely person of the Discord Patreon community. So you can thank them for that, because this is a generous place for generous people who I would think that generosity would extend to not making me have to announce that every game is a tie in my video, but, you know, you win some, you lose some, I suppose. Harrow County is a game that I feel would be fairly overwhelming. It's a 3-player asymmetric game, so it plays best at 2, I guess, on BGG, but you will have 2 factions running around and trying to accomplish your missions that are on the board. Everyone will have these little missions that they have to accomplish, but where it gets really complex is when you introduce the 3rd asymmetric faction, Hester, who's a witch who can control like tree tendrils and can take over your haints, which are the creatures that you're controlling, can take over them and also control them to do her bidding as well. So you get this weird 3 asymmetrical thing. This is from the people who did Mind Management, from Off the Page Games. They did Mind Management, which I'm not really a fan of, and they did Core of Discovery, or Corpse if you're nasty, which looks cool. It's like a little deduction game that can be reset. I think it looks interesting. It's one of those games, Harrow County is one of those games where it's really hard to get a sense of how the game plays and the inner workings until you play like 3 or 4 games. In the rulebook, there are 4 different tutorials to introduce concepts to you, and I feel like it's a fairly heavy time investment, and so I don't know if many people will have invested in that time investment. However, if you're short on time, you can look at Wilmot's Warehouse, where you stack products in the warehouse, telling a story to remember where to find them. I'd never heard of this game, but that's what I like, including some of these wild cards whenever I'm building the bracket that my the patron suggests. In this, you will work together to organize the warehouse using memory, imagination, and silly stories that you make up. That's a BDD description. And so you'll draw a card. It's like cooperative memory. You'll draw a card. You'll say, listen, this is this thing here. This is memory palace training, essentially. You'll take the card, you'll put it face down somewhere, and you can never look at it again. And then you got to do that for all 35 cards. Then you try to match up all the cards on top so that this story that you have created, all working together, makes sense. Which I think it's fun. I think it's a funny little idea for a game. Certainly might take a similar brain power to Harrow County, but I think it's pretty cool. Seems like a fun, neat little game, and I like that I'm hearing about it in this deathmatch. So I do have a tally of these votes, and the tally. Well, I think you might know what sort of tally we got going on here for Wilmot. Now, if only there was one devious little Wilmot fan who was just out there waiting, who held their vote back, who holds their vote back until it's tied, and then wham! Right under the deadline, we can break that tie. If only that was the strategy that anyone could have employed when everybody's working hard to tie these things. If only that was the strategy, but we have another tie. Okay, we've got another tie. However, we don't have a tie for 7 Citadel taking on Let's Go to Japan, because that is broken in fate. Honestly, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with 7 Citadel moving forward because something is moving forward. And I want to bring shame to all of your families, because Let's Go to Japan, I've heard such great things about. It's been racing up the charts, and it was beaten now by 7th Citadel because of your indecisiveness. Goodbye, Let's Go to Japan. And then we also have breaking of the tie. I told you they wouldn't last. I knew it. I knew they wouldn't. The tone of this video is very aggressive, and I'm here for it. This has been building up inside me all month, and I gotta let it out. And so thank you for being here. Thank you so much. I love you. I love you. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like, and subscribe. Okay. Because we've got Murder at Tealwoods Manor taking on Dune War for Arrakis. And unfortunately, Dune War for Arrakis just stomps all over Murder for Tealwoods Manor in an 18-17 vote. Just stomps on it. Yeah, this one was really tough. I think Dune War for Arrakis is just so good that I'm happy it moves forward. Of course, I always love an underdog story, which I am currently living right now in hoping to get out from under these ties. Oh, you know, I wish I had a bunch of ties, because then I could be I could have been wearing multiple ties as the game goes on. Anyway, it's Dune War for Wreck as I moves forward. Gotta go get something from my closet. As a marker to see how many ties are ongoing. I'll be back. All right, we're back. We're back. And I do have an announcement. You know what? This one, it wasn't even tied. It got broken immediately the next day. It is not Wilmot's Wandering, but whoever they were facing. Harrow County that moves forward in 14 to 12 votes. Yeah, you heard me right. 14 to 12 votes. I was going to go get ties. And then I realized, you know what? The tying's over. I don't think there's going to be any more ties, so I don't even need to go get them. Okay, but we're moving on. We're moving on to the next round. We have Andromeda's Edge taking on Skyrise. Both of these I've heard quite good things about. I know that I wouldn't like Andromeda's Edge. I don't know that. But I didn't really enjoy Dwellings of Eldervale. I thought it was fine. I thought it was, you know, okay. I just played it once at 2 players, and then I thought the box was way too big, and I was like, I'm never going to want to play this again. Just ever. But I say that to all of you so that you can accuse me for not playing it correctly or that I need to give it another try with a better player count. I'm open to it, but I'm more open to Skyrise, whose bidding system I think seems pretty cool. There's going to be these multiple districts. I still haven't tried Skyrise. I was so close at Niagara, but then nobody invited me to the table. No, they were playing it when I showed up. Literally didn't tell anybody when I was arriving. Skyrise is neat where you're going to all have the same amount of buildings and you're going to be bidding these buildings in districts, and then you have to bid adjacent to that district, and the highest building wins and you take off all the other buildings. I think it looks cool. You're also trying to meet the demands of these patrons who can be very demanding. Just kidding, I love you all. And get points in that way. Andromeda's Edge is Space Dwellings of Eldervale, where you will have this main map that there will be tiles placed out on. You'll be placing more tiles out on there, and you'll be dropping your ships and trying to establish dwellings of Andromeda. Sorry, edges. You're trying to edge yourself in Andromeda, which is different from a place in Georgia. And then also down here, you'll have your own private shipboard. This is where you kind of launch your ships out. They'll all do various things, and you will be constructing, I don't know if it's in this picture or not. No, those are just the tracks. Yeah, this seems like it's an initial setup, but you'll be constructing your own worker placement tableau of cards that you get to activate when you pull all of your workers back. So essentially you send your workers out, there'll be some light skirmishing as you fight to drop dwellings in Andromeda, as you strive to edge yourself in Andromeda, and then you'll pull all your people back, pull your people back, and then activate your own private tableau. I was stoked about the concept. It just didn't land for me that much in execution for Dwellings of Eldervale. And so I am very happy that no tie happens here. There is no tie whatsoever, and it is in fact Skyrise that moves forward in a 17 to 15 vote. Sorry, Andromeda's Edge. I really thought Andromeda's Edge would go all the way, but somebody decided to make their vote count and made sure that Skyrise moves forward in a 17 to 15 vote. And just think, if only you had been there voting, you could have swayed the tide. Could have swayed it either way. But unfortunately now Andromeda's Edge is out of the competition and will be forever known as a first round loss in a best of 2024 games bracket. Sorry, Andromeda's Edge. I wish you had supporters who had signed up for the Room and Board Discord. But let's move on to Fromage versus Charcuterie. Why have a game that's just cheese when you can have a game that's cheese, meat, olives, pickles, and onions? There's no pickles. There's no onions. But there are delightful little pieces, which I think I am missing one piece because we played it at Niagara and I'm devastated. We played a 6-player game. They drew them at the end of the bag. They didn't pull out enough pieces. It must be somewhere in Morrisburg, Ontario. But that's fine. We just were like, oh, okay. Well, you declare whatever piece you want to be in that last pairing. So it worked out fine. I'll have to go through and look to see what is missing. Maybe it's a meat rose. Oh no. I think it might be a meat rose. There's only 2 of them in the game, and I only remember there being 1. Anyway, look at these people enjoying Charcuterie. Charcuterie is a great game. I've talked about it a lot on the channel recently because I got suckered into backing it, and it surprisingly worked out. I think it's really, really good. You're going to have 6 scoring conditions, 1 for each of the things that you pull from the bag, and then somebody will pull a bunch of things from the bag and put them into piles, and then everybody else gets to choose a pile before the person who made the piles gets a pile. That's I cut, you choose, better than I cut the cheese. And it's super quick. It's like 20, oh, look at that. It's real too. It's like 20 minutes. Plays super quickly. I think it's a wonderful, a perfect appetizer of a board game. But it's up against Fromage. Fromage, which I thought just looked okay when I looked at it at Kickstarter. I remember when it was on Kickstarter, and I thought the spinning of the 4 quadrants of worker placement seemed interesting. You have these 4 worker placement spots. You're essentially, there's 4 mini games where you're trying to drop a number of cheeses out on the board in order to get a ton of points. But you can play it on Board Game Arena, and I think that's also helped its favorability. And a lot of people seem to be enjoying it. Like I saw some people playing it at Niagara. I think I saw some people playing it at Level Up. And so people have been getting this to the table. The cheese pieces are fun. It's a fun theme. And I guess the worker placement is decently adept. 2.49 complexity. Didn't quite hit the spot. Felt there wasn't as much depth and strategy to keep my interest. Okay. BGA 5.8. Worker placement, simultaneous play, family weight point salad Euro game. Yeah, I like the workers returning at different times. There's a mechanism where all your workers are out. You can pull them back and activate them and deliver your cheeses, but I think it looks pretty good. I'm obviously rooting for Charcuterie here because I've never played Fromage, and I'm going to pick the thing that I like. But it's not just that. It's because I quite enjoy Charcuterie. I think it is a really solid game. But apparently people don't care about the meats and fruits and veggies and dips and breads, and they only want the cheese because it's Fromage that moves forward in a 14-11 vote. Not a tie. Say it with me. Not a tie. Ho, ho, ho. Oh, I feel so high on life. So high on life right now as we head into Windmill Valley versus Endeavor Deep Sea. This is going to be a tough battle. And I kind of expect Windmill Valley to win here. I haven't played Windmill Valley, but it brings back the beautiful gears that you haven't seen since Sulkin. I mean, it's a bit different as well. But the production value on Windmill Valley has been off the charts. People have been talking about this game. Or maybe just Rado. Just Rado's talking about this game. And now that I think about it, why would I ever consider that this would be a good game? It's probably not. But the whole conceit is that you're going to have these windmills, these actions that you can choose that will get upgraded over the course of the game. You have to plan out how to turn your windmills and activate the actions in the correct pattern. I don't know, this is one that looks beautiful. It's something that I want to try. Anyway, Windmill Valley looks really cool. Endeavor Deep Sea, I can tell you, is really cool. Although people in the Discord have been saying that they haven't really enjoyed the solo mode that much. They said it's fairly boring, fairly predictable. Also, if you're a solo player, don't listen to me. Well, I think that's a good rule of thumb in general, though. If you're a solo player, don't listen to me because I have trouble playing by myself. I need someone to watch me. I need to have a fun turn and say, "Watch this! Look what I did, mommy, please." I quite like Endeavor Deep Sea. I've been talking about this game for a bit as well. Been excited for it to hit the shelves and hit stores. Essentially, you'll be diving down into the down deep of the ocean. If somebody will give me a zoomed out portion of the board, and you'll be uncovering not really worker spaces, but objectives that you can claim through a movement component. Maybe that's why I like it so much, because that's what I really like about Attack on Titan, is that it's a deck builder with movement. And so here it's a track engine builder, but it's relative to the spaces you can get to and activate, and there's a very sort of tactical movement element to it as well. Each one of these spaces will be further and further down into the ocean. They'll give you more points the further down deep you go and explore, and you're also going to be upgrading your crew and upgrading the number of actions that you can take and the number of pieces that you can pull back, essentially workers that you can pull back from your board. It's fun. It's really good. I want to play it again. So I hope it wins. And I look, and it's not even close to a tie. Endeavor Deep Sea moves forward 15-11. I think we can say goodbye to the ties. And normally this would be me building up to the finale ending in a tie and me just being very frustrated. But that doesn't happen. It doesn't. I'm very excited about it. So it's Endeavor Deep Sea that moves forward. Sorry, Windmill Valley. Windmill Valley is out. That also is kind of one of my picks that I thought would reach the semifinals, but it's out of there. Endeavor Deep Sea moves forward. Next up, we have Mistwind taking on Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth. And so Lord of the Rings is a newer on the hotness. We're composing of this bracket really comprises the entirety of 2024, but I think this came out at the very tail end of 2024. Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth is essentially Seven Wonders Duel that's been reskinned as Lord of the Rings. There'll be all of these cards that you can take on your turn. They will give you resources or army points or what have you. But just like Seven Wonders Duel, you are assembling these symbols and using them to defeat Sauron this time instead of just nobody else. There's a little bit of an asymmetry in this one as well, because Frodo and Sam can reach Mount Dune and destroy the ring, or if the Nazgul catch Frodo and Sam, they seize the One Ring and you immediately win the game. That's like basically the tug of war from the combat mechanism that was Seven Wonders Duel. Support of the races, if you gain 6 different race symbols on your green cards. Ooh, that's the science. The science condition, and then finally there's a new different condition of being present in 7 regions. I don't know. I'm really very mid on Seven Wonders Duel. I think it's just fine. But I also don't have that much enthusiasm for Mistwind, although it does have flying whales, so let's rein ourselves back in here for a second. Although now that I'm looking at it, I do remember this. This Reviving Kathmandu has this mechanism, and I think it's fun. So I think it would be fun in Mistwind as well. Mistborn's later. Mistwind, you're going to have 5 discs, 1 to 5, and you're only going to put out 4 of them to do actions, and that will also determine sort of the strength of your action and what you can do with those actions. And I like that limited resources of like, this is my really strong chip. I'm using my strong chip to make sure I do this thing. And I think that's a really intriguing and interesting mechanism when it's being put into place. You can see people dropping out their chips on their various cards and actions that they can do on that specific turn. And you're just networking. You're ferrying people across the world as a beautiful beluga. That's you. I've always thought of it was you, and it is you. That beautiful, beautiful beluga. And when I look back at this one, it's I'm so rattled that I've forgotten how to tie because I'm looking at you and I'm looking down. No, should be looking in the mirror. I don't know how to tie anymore. I need to step away. I need to stop looking at you for a second. Okay, I had to go to a mirror to get it started, which you'd think that my camera would be a mirror, but now I'm getting tie shy. It's literally a mirror, and I couldn't do it. But I could do it when I stepped away. That's very weird. Anyway, we've got a tie. Oh, I hate this. We've got a tie. But I'll let you know when that tie breaks as we go on to the next one. We have Flame and Fang versus Earth Under Siege Flashpoint. I'm excited about Earth Under Siege. They're actually having a reprint campaign, which should still be live if you want to check it out. I did a review on Earth Under Siege. I think it's quite good. Wait a minute. Oh my god. I swear I didn't copy Alex's his subtitle, Stealth Done Right, because I also think it's Stealth Done Right. And that's embarrassing. It's just, oh, I need to change that thumbnail now. Or maybe it's just Stealth Done Right. Earth Under Siege is great. We're going to talk about Flame and Fang. Well, we'll talk about Earth Under Siege right now. The only thing that isn't great is the insert, but if you want, Hextra has a great one. And just check out my review if you want to check that out. Oh, standees? Was there a standee pledge? No, there wasn't a standee pledge. Oh, this is just because it's Tabletopia. Oh, it would have been so much better with standees. It's so confusing to see the different sculpts. But here, essentially, Earth Under Siege, you're going to play as an operative, and you'll have these 6 actions. 3 of them are move actions, 3 of them are action actions. The move actions let you move on the board, and the action actions let you do cool things. You'll also have a hand of cards where some of them will be free actions and give you things to do. And then if you play a certain token, then it will help you do something even cooler. And so this is where the stealth part works really well, because sometimes you don't want to do anything on your turn, and so discarding these cards to get these tokens feels really good because the tokens enable you to do really cool things. So I like that a lot. The other things that I like about it is that you don't know what enemies are out there. You kind of know the general pool, but you'll flip over a card and you'll spawn them only when you get them in line of sight. And then you also have to roll a stealth check to make sure that they don't see you. So I think that just like is really, really cool. I think it's a great game. I really, really enjoyed playing it. And I was super thrilled that they sent it my way, because it was my pick of the week way back when for crowdfunding. Now, Flame and Fang is by the One Stop Co-op Shop crew, I think. Yeah, Michael Kelly hosts a podcast with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and they created this game of a cooperative game where everybody's being different dragons. You'll fly around the board, you'll gather resources, you'll upgrade your abilities, you'll battle enemies, and it's a little bit of a campaign as well. So there's a story element to it as you proceed through all of these different scenarios. It seems cool, but I don't think it's going to be able to hold a candle to Earth Under Siege. But now that I look back, though, it looks like Flaming Fang is winning. Oh, because you know what? It was a tie. It was a tie, but it was broken by the die of chaos. A couple people said, we don't know where our votes are going to go. So they threw in 2 dice, and luckily those 2 dice ended up not tying it again. And it was Earth Under Siege that moves forward in a 15-13 vote. No ties, no more ties. On to the next one, which is Unconscious Mind versus Things in Rings, which I'm going to pretend I've played Things in Rings. I now see how it works, and I'm really excited about Things in Rings. I don't think it's going to win to Unconscious Mind. I look back now, and well, let's see what the votes were like when it was called. People are going back. People are going back in time, and they're tying it up when they know they're tying it up with a legal extra vote. I see what you're doing. You give me a little scare. Well, you know what? This one wasn't tied. This one was determined definitively. But let's talk about both of these games first. Unconscious Mind is from the crew that brought you Endless Winter. And so if you know anything about Endless Winter, it's every mechanism that's in a board game. And so Unconscious Mind said, hold my penis, Freud, beer, and decided to double it. There's going to be a whole bunch of inner workings of Unconscious Mind. You're activating your own personal track. You're consulting with patients, and you're curing them of their innermost fears. Oh, how lovely that would be. You're running around in this location track. Basically, any mechanism. You know what? Let's go to the BGG page, and we'll see the full credits. And I want to see how many mechanisms are in it. Oh, not as many as I thought. Hey, melding and splaying. That's not what you're thinking, all you Freudians out there. Melding and splaying is like you have a bunch of stuff, and they come together, and you spread them out, and then you pull things out, and that makes it more like Scout. Scout has that. Program movement, rondel. Yeah, the rondel is the sort of main mechanism that I remembered from it, because everybody has their own personal rondel that they're activating to choose what bonuses and what actions they get to. It seems really cool. It is certainly a little bit more complicated than Things in Rings. Is very funny to me. I didn't think that this looked good at all. I was like, whatever. People are talking about this. I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. But it is. I think if we look at mechanisms, it should be induction. No, incorrect. Induction, yes! The mechanisms is induction, which is honestly one of my favorite mechanisms. And I think if I were to redo that, it would shoot way up, because you don't have this a lot. You attempt to determine the rules governing a situation. So it's not just deduction, but there's one person who knows the rules, and you're trying to figure out what those rules are. And these rules will pertain to the things in the rings. So there will always be a rule about the attribute. There will always be a rule about the word itself, and there'll always be a rule about the context of the thing. And your job is you have a bunch of cards in your hand, and you're going to put one out into where you think it belongs. And the person who knows the rules, coincidentally named the knower, will say, no. That's why they're called the knower. No, because they know things. They'll tell you if it's right or if it's wrong. If it's right, you don't have to draw another card. If it's wrong, you have to draw another card. The first person to go through all their cards wins. It seems great. Honestly, I love this idea. I love puzzling it out. It was so satisfying. I was so confused when I was watching this game, and then I got one of the aspects because I came in mid-game of it, and it was, it was a really, really cool idea. So I really like it a lot. Unfortunately, it's burnt for all eternity because the complexity and weight of Unconscious Mind holds a lot more sway these days in 2024. And it's Unconscious Mind that moves forward in a 20-18 vote. Moving along to Mistborn versus Wondrous Creatures. Mistborn is John D. Clare's new deck building game from the Brandon Sanderson series. But it's kind of dual-handed. You can kill each other to win, or you can win you can just get a number of points. Like you complete a number of objectives and contracts. And I love these dual win conditions in a game. I think that's always very fun. Otherwise, your standard deck builder. It's cool that Brotherwise Games published it. I think Brotherwise Games does quite a nice job on like smaller, simple stuff. I always like looking out for what they are doing ever since Night of the Ninja. But it's up against Wondrous Creatures by Bad Comet, which is also another company that I like paying attention to. Their stuff always feels too expensive for cheapy old me, but it always comes in pretty good quality. They probably are most famously known for Quackscadia. Why does it say Life of the Amazonia? No, I'm pretty sure it's called Quackscadia, as you pull things from a bag and create different patterns. Yes, I'm very proud of that. I came up with it completely on my own. I didn't steal it from anybody, and I'm not going to give anyone credit. It's mine, Quackscadia. It was gifted to me for my birthday, and thus I shall continue. Wondrous Creatures is a big old worker placement game where you're placing your workers, these wondrous creatures, these cute little meeples, on spaces of land. And wherever they're adjacent to, they get to take those sort of actions as you develop your tableau of cool creatures trying to score points. And look at these cool guys. Come on now. Oh, so cute. Anyway, you want to run around the map and try to get the most cool stuff. It's Wondrous Creatures that does move forward in a dominant 16-12 vote. Sorry, Mistborn, you burnt. And speaking of mists, Mistwind proves that it is the better mist at this time. It took that long. Did you forget that this still needed to be resolved? I certainly did. But it took that long to be resolved. Finally, somebody broke and gave it to the whales, and Lord of the Rings falls into the pit of Mount Doom. Wondrous Creatures moves on into the next round. Next up, we only have a few more to go. We have Agemonia versus Arrakis. Oh, you know what? I've now played more games on this list than I did when we were doing the deathmatch. That was fun. I haven't played Agemonia, though. Agemonia is another big campaign game. It came out around the same time as Iridia, which I have over there in a box, and I haven't opened that box yet because I promised Zach that we would open it together and do the quick start, and maybe we'll film it, and I'm so excited about it. Oh boy, I can't wait to not be let down. Agemonia, it came out around that time, and the whole time it came out, I just thought, well, it's not Iridia. I don't care. But by all accounts, people have really been enjoying Agemonia as well. You're going to have these set maps. You can interact with these numbers on the board. You can go to the place, you can interact with the thing. You'll read a story text passage. You'll have to complete a check of some sort. You'll also have a number of action points, if I remember correctly, like mana, and that's how what acts as a turn tracker. And so spending bigger spells means you take less actions, which I think is cool. I think that's what over here this section of the board is, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, the color of it seems really vibrant. The bosses are terrifying. Yeah, by all accounts, here's the storybook. That's a better picture of the storybook. I love that it's a storybook as well, where all the maps and scenarios are kind of plopped out here. Your standard dungeon crawler, you're going to use your health and mana to do the stuff that you. It's taking on Arrakis, which I just played for the first time at Level Up. And it was a great time. Arrakis is from Cole Worley, which is a 4X game that people say is a trick-taking game, but when you play it, it's not really a trick-taking game. That just determines who gets to do the lead suit. Somebody will lead a suit, which all the suits are is essentially they are the actions that you can take. And if you can beat that suit, if you have a higher number card, that these are dealt out just randomly at the beginning of the game, you can say, okay, I get to take all the actions on my card. If you can't beat that card, you have to throw away another card and only get to take one action, essentially. And so there's a lot of randomness in terms of what cards get dealt, but you can mitigate that slightly by getting a bunch of treasures and by choosing what is actually important for every round. So on this side over here, this is the ambitions, and you can choose to activate one of these ambitions and make it worth that many points for the round. So sometimes you might be really good in one specific ambition, but nobody activates it and you don't get a chance. That's where the grabbing first player and playing things out of order makes a difference. Because if you don't activate it, then it's not worth any points. And so you might be really good at collecting all this oil and these goods, but you're not getting any points. And somebody who sneaks in with just like one ship might get 9 points, depending if they've strategically activated it or not. So I think that's the really neat part about this game. It's broken down all of these. If it's next to something, it's adjacent. And you can run around this ring to visit other star systems, essentially, and drop your planets, drop your bases on them so that you can build more stuff and win the game. There's also a campaign mode, which I've only played the base game, and I think the base game is fine. The campaign adds in a whole ton of stuff. It's a huge box. that you can play a 3-game campaign and have your specific civilizations expand and get stronger over the course of time. I'll have to try it out eventually, but it doesn't really pull me in, especially because I had such a good time with the base arcs as well. So I'm imagining that arcs will win here, but it is not the case, actually. Agemonia has a lot of fans, and I know some people don't like arcs because if you just get dealt cards that you don't have the numbers to declare your ambition, you're like, oh, great, well, my strategy's screwed. I can't get anybody to declare the actual ambition of the one that I wanted. So sometimes you can just get screwed over. So maybe it's that, but Agemonia moves forward in a 17-10 vote. People are really enjoying it, and people are not enjoying arcs, apparently. But what people are enjoying for sure is going to be this next one, Primal the Awakening versus Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. I have a fairly robust solo community in the Discord, and so I was wondering if the Gloomholden adaptation Buttons and Bugs would provide some sway here. Unfortunately, it's up against Primal, which also you can play solo. People have talked about this game as being very Marvel champions. You will have this big useless mini which tells you where the monster's facing, and then you jump around and like stick it in the back with a pokey thing, also known as a sword, but, you know, we try to keep it PG around here. Just ask my coverage of Unconscious Penis. Mind! Yeah, people have sort of attributed Primal to Marvel Champions. You're going to have a deck of cards that you can level up and improve over the course of a campaign. You're going to fight these badass monsters, and the fun of the game really comes from that customization and fighting the monsters and going through your deck and managing how you jump around and dodge and hit the weak points when you need to hit them. Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs is every scenario is just one card. You can see these tiny little people, and these cubes are the enemies that you're facing, and you have to navigate and fight very much Gloomhaven style. All the classes will have their own abilities that you can activate and you can attack. People are painting this Gloomhaven Button and Bugs. Wow. And it's just a pocket-sized Gloomhaven if you want to work your way through 20 or so scenarios, I think it has. How many? I'm sure it does. Each mercenary has a hand of just 4 double-sided cards. They can be used twice, the front and the back, before they're discarded. I think it's 20. I'm pretty sure it's 20. Anyway, it's not something we have to worry about because Primal's going to move forward unequivocally in a 19-10 vote. No more ties, people. No more. I have so many more over there, but this bit isn't going to work. Also good because I get too scared and don't know how to tie a tie. Maybe it's because I'm sitting down. Maybe that's it. Maybe I just physically cannot remember how to tie a tie if I'm seated. That's freaky. Because I need to see it dangle. The tie, okay? Keep it PG, you Freudians. We're moving on. Primal moves on. Unfortunately, Gloomhaven is out of it. And we have the moment you've all been waiting for. Wyrmspan taking on 2024's darling, Bounce Off. Now, we're going to get to Wyrmspan in a minute. But I want to talk a bit about Bounce Off. Did you know that Bounce Off had a new re-implementation in 2024? That's true. Well, I know you know. I know you're all subscribed to Bounce Off Weekly, the bounciest magazine that bounces right into your mailbox. If it don't bounce, well, you bounce it right back. Like Bounce Off Incorporated's checks to any advertisers, well, they also had a rule that all of their games must be bounced onto the shelves. In true thematic nature. 2024 is sort of the year of the theme, and Bounce Off was going with a real underground or under and overground, some might say, marketing scheme of making sure that their boxes also bounce. However, you may not have seen it on your shelves. I've been looking for it. I've been going to my game store every day. I'm saying, where's the bouncy games? I need to take it off the shelf and bounce my way home on it. And really just use it as a method of transportation, honestly, because sometimes I get tired. But when you looked around the shelves, the chaos that this caused, it caused widespread, rampant chaos among local game stores who were trying to bounce it on their shelves, and the ones that did try, they knocked all their shelves over because they don't actually play games, they just sell them. And so for that reason, Bounce Off actually never made it onto the shelves in 2024, and so because this is a best of 2024 deathmatch, unfortunately Bounce Off has to be taken away. And I know that you will all be upset because there have been some new additions. Vyashu bumped it up to 7.5 to 8. Yes, I think you could pump those numbers up a little. I think 10 is the number that you want for it, but there's another. I don't know how we're still getting new reviews in 2025 in January that are just 3s from Laughing. You know who's not laughing? Me. Bounce Off, the pinnacle of strategic depth and intellectual stimulation. Yes, this is great. If you've ever dreamed of tossing plastic balls onto a grid while pretending it requires skill, then congratulations, you've found your game. Okay. Pretending? Oh, let's see you sink a bounce 280. But you don't even know what that means. It's a technical term, you can look it up. The gameplay? Riveting. You're right. You bounce a ball and hope it lands where you need. Oh, that's it. No mind games, no strategy, just pure, unfiltered luck disguised as a challenge. It's like beer pong's baby cousin without the beer or the fun. Oh, Laughing. Oh, Laughing. Perfect for kids or adults who enjoy competitive frustration over a game that a slight breeze could ruin. If you love games that make you question your life choices after 5 minutes, Bounce Off is a must-have. You know, you are right. Because if you're playing Bounce Off and you're not questioning your life choices, what are you even doing? If you're playing Bounce Off, if you've gotten the Temu version of Bounce Off called Game Bounce, get back to me here, right? And you knew that wasn't enough, that you had to get your own Bounce Off again. If you aren't questioning your decisions that make you go out and take valuable shelf space with 2 copies of the same game just in case everybody wants to have a Bounce Off party, well, that's what I don't know what you're doing. You should be questioning your decisions, okay? You should be investing in games on your shelf that you'll actually play instead of the ones that are just sitting there. Games that are objectively a 10 out of 10. I don't know why Bounce Off's number keeps going down, people. I don't know why I have to say it every time. It's okay, I get it. It's because it wasn't on the shelves, okay? I understand. But I need you to all go and give an honest review, an honest rating and review of Bounce Off over on Board Game Geek right now, as long as that honest rating and review is a 10. Because if it isn't, then it isn't honest, is it? I don't think so. Oh no, I don't think so. See? Cam Persno, 1, knows where it's at. Oh, it was all started by Arkansoni, my nemesis. Let's keep the good times bouncing, people, okay? For shame. Bounce Off's out of the competition. It's been replaced. It has been replaced by the most generic game ever, inventors of the South Tigris. I know people who played this game, and let me tell ya, I wish they hadn't. I wish they'd been playing Bounce Off instead. Honestly, at this point, with all these 9 games, they're all the same. You chain your combos together, you use your dice, you get resources, and you get more resources. There's a reason why their descriptions on Board Game Geek are always the same, which is, play the player with the most victory points. Points are gained by inventing, building, testing, and publishing devices. You can also score points by training their craftspeople, developing their workshops, researching, influencing the 3 scientific guilds. There are just so many combos in these games, and honestly, I enjoy Scholars of the South Tigris. I think that's the one that I like. I also like Architects of the West Kingdom. Those are 2 that I've played. I feel like people don't really like Architects, or at least the people who I introduce it to, but it's still on my shelf because, like, I think it's actually quite fun. But yeah, a couple people had suggested this before I had made after I'd made the bracket, so I wanted to include it as the replacement since we did have a replacement. It's taking off against Wyrmspan. I was looking forward to hearing people talk about it for inventors. It didn't really get talked about, but it also won over Wyrmspan. Wyrmspan is something that, like, I still haven't tried, and now Finspan's out, and I still haven't played that either. But I really like the idea of Wyrmspan because as you're excavating and putting cards down, there's a cost to doing those actions again. And so I think that cost feels really interesting to me of having to diversify your actions instead of just going all straight on to the egg strategy. So yeah, people have been really enjoying Wyrmspan a ton, but not enough for it to triumph over Inventors of the South Tigris. It is Inventors that moves forward in a 17-10 vote. Okay, we're moving on. We finally reached past all the candidates, except there's one more, and, well, something's going to be burnt, I'm sure, so there's going to be another one that we'll probably have to talk about. But this is the last one, at least for a little while, and then we can really get rocking and rolling here. We've got Harmonies, which is at 106 right now. Wow! Taking on MLM, the Space Agency multi-level milking scheme. We know about that. You want to push your luck and not destroy a rocket. Harmonies is sort of Cascadia-esque. You'll be taking these cards and you'll be drafting. There'll be 6 spots that are open, filled with 3 tiles each. You will take those tiles and you put them on your board. Landscape scores in a different capacity, and in addition, you're also trying to hit these patterns that are on your cards, because whenever you you do, you get to put a little cube on there, and when you fill the cube, take the cube off, you get points as well. It's very simple, very relaxing. I played this at Niagara. I really, really enjoyed it. Soothing, relaxing, calm game, a very small box too, good production value. Just, I can see why people have been really liking it. If you like pattern matching, you like abstract games, this is one that you can check out. But maybe you like push your luck game. Maybe MLEM can take this vote with their cute little cats and they're pushing your luck with the spaceship that's going to crash 11 times. It was very, very close. It came down to a 16 to 14 vote, but it is Harmonies that moves forward. People have been really enjoying this. 106 already. That's wild. So Harmonies moves forward into the next round. Next up, we have Civolution taking on Dune, War for Arrakis. This is also a close battle. No tie. There are so many actions that you have to take in Civolution. The amount of actions you can take is mind-blowing. In Dune, you only have to worry about 5 of them, but they are applied in different ways in how you spread out over the board. But this one also came down to a very close 18 to 16 battle, and it is Dune, War for Arrakis that dethrones Civolution, which, I don't know, it makes sense to me. It's higher on BGG right now. It is higher rated on BGG. I think Civolution is one of those games that if you really love chunky games and you're able to get this under your belt, I think people have been really enjoying it. But it takes a lot of that overhead to get to the table. And Dune still feels like it takes that overhead, but it takes a little bit less. Next up, we have the 7th Citadel versus Harrow County. Both of these games I am uninterested in, and it seems like the Discord is also uninterested as well. They regret their choices of the endless ties, and somebody put up a third option into this mix. Tidal Blades 2 becomes the right-in option. Somebody's like, listen, 7th Citadel? Nah. Harrow County? Nah. You really want Tidal Blades 2, one of the best campaign games out there. Protect the denizens of Naviri during 18 scenarios in this campaign dungeon crawlers. So the sort of twist of Tidal Blades 2, again, scenario-based game, where you're going to have your own character, and you'll start with this little card in the middle, and then you will choose, you'll be playing cards around it in this grid, and whenever you play a card, you get to activate either the row or the column of the card, of wherever the card was placed. So you want to put your cards down strategically in terms of how you activate things and hope that no enemies make you have bad things to activate, as well as you navigate your way punching and kicking and screaming through this scenario. Everybody resonated with Tidal Blades 2 quite significantly. 7th Continent and Harrow County both got on like 9 and 7 votes, and Tidal Blades 2, the burn choice, got 14, how many votes? Let me see. 14 votes, 14 total votes to blow both of these out of the water in this write-in choice. Hey, it's the Wild West over here. If you wanted your game to be the best, you gotta put it in. And people rally behind it. A good choice. Tidal Blades 2 is now in the competition. Let's see how far it's able to go. But it's gonna have to take out one of these two in its next round. Skyrise taking on Fromage. Or Fromage, if you're nasty. One or the other. I think that's the correct pronunciation, Fromage. I'm fairly certain. Again, we have the bidding aspect of Skyrise taking on the worker placement aspect of Fromage, and it was a very close vote. I was kind of expecting Skyrise to win here, took out Andromeda's edge, but it is Fromage that keeps on trucking. A very close 16 to 15 vote takes out Skyrise and moves Fromage forward, which I'm very impressed. I never thought that one was going to get this far, but that's why I like these matchups as well. Next up, we have Endeavor Deep Sea taking on Mistwind. Mistwind with your floating whales and your different actions that you can take with your discs. Endeavor Deep Sea about this beautiful engine building game of going deeper and deeper down as you move these tracks up and get more people to help you do cool things. Endeavor Deep Sea, it's great. It's a lot of great combos. And there was a deluge of undecided votes, but in the end, it was Endeavor Deep Sea that took the vote in a 21 to 12 vote against Mistwind and moves on into the next round. Next up, we have Earth Under Siege versus Unconscious Mind. Again, a really, I don't know how this is going to fall. I feel like Unconscious Mind is going to take it, because Earth Under Siege, not a lot of people have been talking about, but there are a few people who did get it who are in the Discord who were pushing it forward as a great time. And this came down again to a very close vote. It was 12 to 11. A smaller turnout, well, probably because I probably started the vote later, honestly. I think it's probably my bad. But a smaller turnout means that Unconscious Mind moves forward in a 12 to 11 vote. Earth Under Siege, unfortunately, is out of the competition, but it's a good game. What a bummer. I would have wanted that to move forward. But Unconscious Mind is something that I still want to try because I did enjoy Endless Winter, and so I'm excited to see it move forward as well. It keeps on pushing its way forward. Next up, we have Wondrous Creatures versus Agemonia, which was an upset. I don't know if it can do another upset. I feel like people have really been enjoying Wondrous Creatures as well, mainly because of the meeples, and just the flow of the worker placement and upgrading your own tableau. I like that aspect of collecting cards with worker placement, like that is very Everdell-esque to me, which I love. It seems like people are resonating with Wondrous Creatures more than Agemonia. Campaign games can only get you so far, although, I mean, tell that to Tidal Blades too. We'll see how long that run keeps going on for. But it's Wondrous Creatures that moves forward in a very solid 17 to 11 vote. And then finally, we have Primal, the Awakening, taking on Inventors of the South Tigris. Inventors which you and I both don't know how to describe, and neither does the designer. The Inventors which is like, hey, it's number 9. You know you like me. Just get it. And you probably will get a very solid game. Let's see what people are saying. The inventions feel a whole lot of nothing. Yeah, heavy game where you can use dice of different colors and use one of your private workers to do actions related to inventing. I thought the game is better than Inventions by Vital Lacerda. I feel like it's too much everything. I agree with that review. And we prefer the simplicity of the big old minis that don't matter but certainly look cool. It's Primal the Awakening that moves forward, or should I say rotates forward, in a 17 to 11 vote. So we're moving and shaking now. We've got Harmonies taking on Dune War for Arrakis. This is a really tough one. It's tough too, because how do you compare these two games, right? As to what is the better game. Harmonies is a lower score, but higher on BGG rating. Dune is getting 8.5, but lower on BGG rating. Harmonies is so lightweight and just so calm and simple, and Dune War for Arrakis has so much complexity, but all of the systems that it has going on are really, really exciting. And so it comes down really, really close. Harmonies eventually takes it. Maybe it's because of its accessibility, but it just edges out Dune for War for Arrakis in a 19 to 17 vote and moves on into the semifinals. Next up, we have Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders, taking on Fromage, and that's the last time I'm going to get to say it, because people are really resonating with Tidal Blades 2, and it's not just because, we had another person, Hextra, in the Discord decide to offer a giveaway for Tidal Blades 2. This happened with Madara, and my patrons liked it so much that they decided to keep the generosity flowing amongst themselves, which the giveaway for this was announced on Monday, so you've already missed it. Again, I don't want to incentivize you to sign up for Patreon ever. I don't. I'm not good at having good business sense with this YouTube job that is my job. I'm not. I say I'm going to give you everything away for free. But luckily, I would say I'm not going to tell you that giveaways are happening to incentivize you to come in. I need you to come in on your own, and then maybe you'll get involved in great giveaways that my patrons do, because it's a generous group. But if you're not willing to take that risk, I don't know what I can do for you. Anyway, Fromage is out. Tidal Blades, Rise of the Unfolders is in. And the giveaway is going to happen even if Tidal Blades doesn't win. Okay, so no collusion. No collusion here. Just nice hand-holding and rubbing and shaking. And speaking of rubbing and shaking, Unconscious Mind is taking on Endeavor Deep Sea. How did Tidal Blades win there? Yeah, Tidal Blades almost didn't win. Tidal Blades won 18 to 17. Now we're up against Endeavor versus Unconscious Mind. This is a close vote as well. But it's a close vote. And Conscious Mind keeps on trucking along, moves forward in a 17 to 14 vote. Endeavor Deep Sea is out of there, which is a bummer because I wanted to see it keep going. But it's a really good game, so you should check it out. But you can't, because all copies of it are burned for all eternity. I don't know if I made that very clear. That's the price of being chosen to participate in this deathmatch. It's the price you pay. All copies will spontaneously combust. Unconscious Mind moves forward, and we have our last matchup, which is Wondrous Creatures taking on Primal the Awakening. Primal the Awakening that has such a gigantic box for no reason at all, because minis are cool and that's how you sell things in the Kickstarter era. That's the reason. And so this one was really close. There was a flurry of extra votes between the two. It ended up being a 17 to 16 vote. These have been some really close matchups, and not just because of all the ties that happened at the beginning. And I really regret committing to this bit, but I've forgotten about it, so it's fine. And okay, I don't want you to judge my knot, okay? I know it's not a good knot. I was under pressure. But it's Wondrous Creatures that moves forward 17 to 16. I thought Primal would have it, but Wondrous Creatures is one of those games where, like, I don't back a lot of stuff. I was very close in terms of backing Wondrous Creatures. If the dollar was better, maybe I would have backed it. And like, I remember being pretty close to backing it, but I have so much stuff here that it's really hard for me to back additional stuff. And I always find that Bad Comet stuff looks cool, but it is also very expensive because it's Deluxify. And you know me, I'm cheap, so... but I'm excited to see Wondrous Creatures move on. I think it does look really good, and I'm very happy that so many people are enjoying it, because I thought it looked great as well. So Primal is taken out, and we're here. We have reached our final four. We have Harmonies, taking on Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders, taking on Unconscious Penis, Freud, Mind. God, why does that keep happening? Taking on Wondrous Penis, Creatures. Oh my goodness. See, we didn't expect it the second time. Gotcha on the second one. But first we're going to start off with Harmonies taking on Tidal Blades 2. This is a really tricky one. I think Harmonies should have it here. The enthusiasm for Tidal Blades 2 is enthusiastic because there's the giveaway that's ongoing. And so maybe the votes are being padded here because people just want their game not to have burned for all eternity. Also potential. But Harmonies is it's really solid. It's so simple. It's also one of those things where it didn't blow me away, but it was just very solid. And so I think a lot of people are going to talk about this game as being like, yeah, it's very solid. It's like an 8, right? 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5. It's good, 4.5 out of 5, 9 out of 10, you know? It's a 20 out of 10, who knows? 2010. That's when I was born. Yes, I'm so youthful. And so the votes came down to being really close, but I think the campaign fever and fervor has gotten behind Tidal Blades 2. It's Madara all over again. Harmonies is knocked out of the competition, and Tidal Blades 2 moves into the finals and will face off against one of these two things. My Father Never Loved Me. Sorry, Unconscious Mind taking on Wondrous. I can't. I'm going to just do it straight. Can't. I've been sitting here in silence for like 15 seconds because I'm simultaneously trying to not make jokes, but make jokes. Unconscious Mind is taking on Wondrous Creatures. For me, I haven't played either of these two. I think both of these are going to be solid games. I think the investment required for Wondrous Creatures is certainly less. It is a much simpler worker placement game. I think there's a lot of moving parts that are happening in Unconscious Mind. Again, you have to be in that mood to want that. But we did see that complexity kind of won out over simplicity before, so maybe it can happen again. But it doesn't happen this time. Wondrous Creatures moves on in a 21 to 15 vote, and so we are here at the finals. These are the two best games of 2024, and I don't care what anybody else says. In fact, I do care what other people are saying, because I need to know who I have to slap. Wondrous Creatures and Tidal Blades 2 are unequivocally, definitively, objectively the best two games of 2024. It was decided. It was decided by my lovely patrons. And if you've got something to say, well, you can, you know where to find me. Right here. It's here on YouTube. It's in the comment section. But one of these will move forward. One of these will be crowned the best game of 2024. There is no collusion here. And this is going to come down to a very, very close 16 to 15 vote. The giveaway happened regardless. It wasn't a spoiler. It came down to 16 to 15. I think somebody switched because the final vote came down to 17 to 14. One of these games is being crowned as the best game of 2024. And what better game than a game that incited so much passion that even though it was left out of the competition, pushed forward, it was embraced by the community, and it washed away the competition. Wondrous Creatures wipes away the entire island of all the... Tidal Blades 2 wipes away the entire island of Wondrous Creatures. Wondrous Creatures is out, and it is Tidal Blades 2 that is officially our top game of 2024. No more ties. No ties happened. I really, again, thought that there would be more ties, and we're just left with this. You ho-ho-hos. But that's it. That's the, there we go. Now we're talking here. That's it. That's the end. Congratulations goes out to Tidal Blades 2. You are the best game of 2024. And if anybody else says that you're not, well, you can say that your mommy Chris told you that you were. Thanks everybody who is voting. Remember, if you want to participate in the monthly Deathmatch, you can sign up for the Remember Patreon. A couple bucks a month. It helps me out. Makes me feel like I'm not just screaming into the void. And it's cool. We just get to hang out as like a cool community. And if not, that's okay too, because I will always be posting any of these recaps. I try to never gatekeep any content. I don't like doing that. So I'll always kind of post videos here in a very poor business decision that people are telling me to stop, but I won't. I won't do it because I love y'all. And I'm cheap, and I know what it's like to have not a lot of money. But if you want to participate in the conversations and the shenanigans and whatever, you can sign up for Discord, sign up for Patreon. And our next death match, the things that we're voting on right now, is going to be the top 6-player games, the top 6-player games that aren't party games. So that'll be the next death match that we're all voting on. I think I did a list of my own personal top 6-player games, but this is more arguing. So, and you get more. So it's fun to, it's currently fun to talk about. Anyway, that's it. Go away. Goodbye. My name's Chris George. I don't have a catchphrase, but I do have a brand new style. I get it. You should go.